Hey, Mike here from Job Ready English, here to help you get hired. Here's 12 pieces of advice. If you're a student, you're just starting out your bachelor's study, maybe you're starting out your master's, and you're like, I've got no idea what to do. I'm completely lost. Here's 12 pieces of advice that I wish I'd actually taken action on. And I say action because it's all very well, and this is actually part of my kind of bonus number 13 tip, which I'll get to. So I am a graduate. I went to Warwick University. I did sociology. It was completely useless. It was an utter waste of time. I don't regret what I did because it made me the man that I am today, but I think in all honesty, it's not been useful at all. I've never needed to use my university degree for anything that I've done, but that's just my experience. Been a professional writer, a business owner, and also sort of a business manager for 10 years. So I'll be 36 soon. So I've been doing that since I was 25, which is pretty cool. Learned some stuff along the way. So I just wanted to share some of those things with you in the hope that one person will hear this and go, that kind of makes sense. So number one, there is a big gap in opportunity between a 2-2 and a 2-1. It's only 10%. So I got a 2-2 at Warwick University. And at the time I was absolutely devastated because I realized what a gap there was. It really wasn't that hard, but I just enjoyed myself a little bit too much when I was at university, and I just made some stupid mistakes. I was very short term in my thinking. So for those of you who were sort of on the edge or kind of thinking, I don't need to study that hard, you don't. I really didn't study that hard. So I would basically turn up at the start of term, get all the books, and then I would just turn up at the end of the year for my exams. That's literally how I did my university degree. I don't advise it, but there is a big gap in the market. If you want to go and get a good graduate job, just getting a 2-1 is enough. And the inverse of that, i.e. what does the negative of that look like? Getting a first really doesn't matter. So if you're kind of sitting there going, I need to get the highest grades possible and I need to do this and I need to do that, that's fine. But my question is, why? Is that actually necessary for the thing that you need to go on and need to do? If not, why bother? You could do other things with your time. Advice number 2, join clubs and societies because you're never going to have so much time to explore. I can remember doing stuff like breakdancing and badminton and all sorts of cool things that I really loved and enjoyed, and I didn't take enough of an opportunity. And one thing that I wish that I'd done is done things that I kind of just interested me or I was curious about, rather than just following around and doing what my friends were doing because I was too scared to do stuff by myself. That's why I found that I had most of my unique experiences when I broke away and essentially made myself uncomfortable. That discomfort passed really quickly, and that was a really good thing for me. Advice number 3 is do stuff you enjoy for free. So something that I learned in my journey of becoming a professional writer is initially that I would write stuff for free. I can remember writing poems, songs for MCs and rap artists when I was like 25. I got into writing, I don't know whether it was late or early, it was just the right time for me, but I just did stuff that I enjoyed for free. So someone would say, I'd really like to write this, and I was like, I'll do that. Because what it did was it gave me a lot of new opportunities and experiences. It forged really good connections, and most importantly, it kept me engaged. It gave me variety, and also it was just doing the reps. When I look back over 10 years of writing, I've done a lot of reps because I've done a lot of different things, and there's not a lot that comes along now where I kind of think, I can't do that. I'll just go, I just need to learn about that. It's just a different form and style of writing. Advice number 4 is build, create and make. What this kind of means is it's like, make something, do something. I can remember having a client talking to me about how he'd had this brilliant book of business ideas, and I just thought, it goes back to that age-old question of like, is it about ideation or execution? It's all about execution, baby. I've met many people who have had great ideas, but not a lot of people will execute. And in the same response now as an owner, when with staff and people be like, oh, I've had this great idea, and I'll say, cool, then execute that, try it. Why? Because if you've never done it before, you'll probably be bad, but also just the experience of trying to do something. So if you're thinking about selling a product, if you're thinking about creating a blog, if you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel, whatever you want to do, just do it for the sake of doing it, and just use that like rule of 100. Just do it 100 times. Do it 100 times, and then actually think, is this something that I enjoy? Is this something I want to do again? And commit to that process. Idea or piece of advice number 5, which I found super helpful, certainly something that Jordan Peterson has spoken a lot about, is reading and writing makes you a better thinker. So over the years, I've read a lot of books, I've written a lot of stuff, and I've used that to make myself better. There's some really brilliant videos online. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, Ali Abdaal, Tim Ferriss, and these are also people that I have consumed all of their content. You know, I've had it on in the car, I've had it on sort of walking about before I go to sleep, not because I'll necessarily remember all of it, but it does all kind of sift and kind of drop in. You know, the average person is probably going to read a handful of books a year, if that. A lot of people after they leave school will probably never read a book again in their life. So it does give you a significant competitive advantage. The inverse of that on the other side is very often, if you're like hyper productive, hyper efficient, you might be like, what's the best way of taking notes, of learning all this information? I would say like chill out. Initially it's good and it's great to have like an encyclopedic knowledge of different things, and I've had a relatively broad range of reading, but I think also like consuming is enough initially, and then later on you can get better in terms of consumption to memorization and then application. A piece of advice number 6 is have some sort of plan and try and execute on that early. If you want to go and work on a bank, then cool. As soon as you hit university, then figure out how can you execute on that plan. It may not be what you want to do, but at least if you start somewhere, then you can iterate, i.e. you can improve on that. So if you happen to be a first year in your first year of bachelor's, you've got a massive competitive advantage over other people, because you really don't have to work that hard to get a spring week. You just have to be early. And like with a lot of things, if you kind of have a plan and you start early, you're going to have a massive competitive advantage, because most people are just constantly living in a world of distraction where they can't seem to just focus on one thing. Just, you know, diarising, scheduling, thinking like, okay, right, I'm going to make a list of the 50 biggest investment banks. I'm going to find out when their spring week opens. I'm going to get my CV done, or just pay someone a tenner to write my CV. I'm going to put all that stuff in a spreadsheet, and I'm going to put a reminder on my phone to start getting ready for online tests and when the applications are meant to go out. And go and have some fun. We're really not talking about a huge chunk of your life being lost, but it's going to make a massive difference. So just have some kind of plan. Just be like, oh, I'm just going to do whatever, man. I can guarantee you that those people will generally end up pretty disappointed. You're going to have the odd person who's going to say, yeah, they're right. But most people are just like, I wish I'd kind of had a plan and done something. Piece of advice number 7 is there is plenty of time for everything, so don't lock yourself into a particular path. It's kind of a thought and a development on piece of advice number 6, which is, you know, I've had clients who have spent, you know, thousands of pounds with me to help them reach a particular career goal or something else coaching wise, and then they'll turn around. I can always remember, it was profound walking with a girl like years ago to Canada Water tube station, and I was like, you know, how are you doing? You seem to not really be engaged in this process. Is something wrong? And she just turned around and said, yeah, I want to be a journalist. I was like, well, why did you join a program to help you work in a professional services firm? She was like, I don't know, like my mum and dad said that I should do that. But it's just that willingness to learn that, you know, ultimately you're going to change, and try not to lock yourself in. I expand upon this in piece of advice number 11 a little bit more about other things outside of professional life as well. This is also stuff that you're engaged in. You might be part of a society, have a job, be part of a volunteering opportunity, and it really doesn't serve your plan, your end goals. Cool, then just leave. Like, feel free to change your mind, go somewhere else. People pleasing kills a lot of dreams. People are like, oh, I don't want to upset anyone, I don't want to offend anyone. No one cares. Like, ultimately, you do have to put yourself first. By putting yourself first, you do put others first as well. Piece of advice number 8 is be humble and learn. Now, this is often a problem. 80% of our clients are young women. So 80% of the people who will engage with us or consume services from us, whether that be digital products, just general coaching, or a whole program, will be women, because women tend to be much better at humility, in my experience. What that means is that young men will tend to be quite arrogant, and really I just see that as fear. They tend to be quite fearful, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know what to do. It's just stupid. So yesterday I don't have a lot of time to do shopping, but I had a meeting, and afterwards I went to a big local Sainsbury's, and they have a habitat. Every time I go there, I always pick up something new for the cottage, because I just like doing that. It's like my little treat to myself. And I picked up a laundry basket. It was £45. I didn't really think much of it. I took it to the till, and there was an elderly lady serving me, and she looked at me, she goes, £45 is quite expensive. And I said, oh, okay, do you think I should buy this? I don't really know a lot about home stuff. I'm not great at all of those things. I tend to be quite absent-minded. She said, well, actually, like, you'll probably get something of better quality, and it'll be a cheaper price if you go to this place. And I just said to her, would you buy this? And she said, no. And I said, great, take it back. One thing that I've learned as I've got older is that I will listen to my elders. Now, my elders are not always right, but I can consume that information and think, well, I seem to have a good alternative course of action. I don't necessarily need this item right now. And also I think about the compounding of money over time. Like, if I could save £20, then actually over time that could be worth £100. So it's like, okay, cool, put it back. I don't need it. Seek out those who have the life that you want and learn from them. So often people will they'll take advice from people who are poorer than them, stupider than them, more foolish than them, who continue to repeat the same mistakes. I mean, this is not good. You know, people will be swayed by what people say rather than what they do. And I find in my life, my closest friends have the life that they want, and generally have a life that I want. They tend to be business owners who are significantly more successful than me, and also who are wise, kind, and humble men. And I like to learn from those people. And I'll be honest with you, I will spend time with people who I really want to learn from. That's kind of what I want to do, because you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So in the inverse of that is if you're spending a lot of time with people who are complete morons, or drama queens, or emotional vampires who just you kind of come away from them and you just feel drained. You're like, holy crap, like, oh, I really don't like that person. Just cut them out. Like, it's probably one of the healthiest things that you can do in your life. Just go, do you know what? I don't really want to be around that person. Piece of advice number 9, your degree probably doesn't mean shit. And I say that in all honesty. If you're doing a technical degree, that might be different. So pursue what interests you. By all means, you know, play the game of Western education. Pursue your degree because it gives you the opportunity to go and work somewhere, to do something else. But in the meantime, maximize your opportunities for doing stuff that you like and that interests you, and that hopefully aligns with your plan and your vision of where you want to be, say, in 5 years' time. Number 10, think about the life that you want to lead, not what people think you should do or what your friends are doing. Tony Robbins calls this the rocking chair test. So he says, you know, when you think about what you want to do when you get to 80 years old, and essentially your ability to do stuff is massively limited, what will you look back on and go, I really wish that I'd kind of done that? And this ties into another piece of advice that I have to share. You know, what do you want to do? Do you have any clarity? If not, it's probably a really good idea that you get some clarity. There's some great programs out there. I really like Darren Hardy's Living Your Best Year Ever. I know Jordan Peterson does a really reasonably priced course called the Life Authoring course. I've not taken it just because I've already done so many, and I was like, I'm I'm not going to engage in something that I'm not going to complete, so I chose not to do that. But get some clarity, for fuck's sake. Like, if you don't have clarity, you're really just going to end up drifting around, and you're going to end up kind of getting sucked along with everyone else, what your mates are doing or what your family think you should do, and then get resentful and go like, oh God, like, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. It's be like, well, take 100% responsibility for your own life. Like, you know, oh, my girlfriend wants me, or my boyfriend, like, who cares? Like, yeah, you love them, but do you know what? Like, don't lock yourself in. Like, things can change. Number 11, which kind of ties into what I said about locking yourself in, is be different. You know, the majority of your friends will get a steady job, get married and have kids. That's cool. But if you want an extraordinary life, you're going to have to do things differently. Now, in my 20s, I was presented with that life opportunity numerous times, and I chose not to take it. And I'm grateful that I didn't take it, because it would not have allowed me to, and that doesn't mean it's not something that I don't want to do in the future, but the ability to develop mastery of a skill requires a decade of sustained effort and commitment. You know, in studies done by, you know, numerous things, it was outlined in Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, but to be really extraordinary, to be exceptional, to be excellent requires a lot of time. You may be lucky enough to find a partner, and I have, you know, and I do have that, but you know, it is a sacrifice. And what I find when I kind of see my friends is that they're like not unhappy, but they're not happy, and they're not super stoked about life like I am. Like, I love what we do, I love my life, I love the things that I get to do and the freedom that I have. I love sometimes that really, like, I need to dig in, and sometimes I just want to go to the beach. Just want to go to the beach with the woman that I love and just have a lovely time, and that's cool as well. But you've got to bear in mind, if you don't want the same life as them, you're going to have to do stuff differently, not the same. If you do the same as those people, you will end up the same life. Advice number 12 is ask permission, not forgiveness. And I'll say this now, and it's more and more apparent to me the longer as time goes on. I only regret what I didn't do, not what I did. And I say that to you, like, I'm 10 years sober. When I was at university, I was a raging drug addict, party animal, alcoholic, just had absolutely no moral compass whatsoever. And I first got clean and sober when I was 24, and I'll be 10 years clean and sober this year. But I still only regret what I didn't do. I don't regret what I did, because everything that I did made me the man that I am today, and I'm really grateful for that. So, you know, instead of sitting there and thinking about doing it, just do it. You know, common one for guys is like thinking about talking to a girl. It's really simple. Just say, hi, my name's Mike. What's your name? Guaranteed that they'll speak to you. You know, I remember going through that and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm not doing that. You know, I want to be able to just embrace life and just not care. And I guess that ends on my last sort of bonus piece of advice, which is a bit of advice that I would say only fully grasped and comprehended in the last year or two, which is consume, read, learn, but mainly execute. You know, sometimes if you're very bright, that can be a curse because you think too much. So I tended to find that I don't think that much. Like, by all means, I accumulate, you know, knowledge. I think about the variables. I think about the downside, the risk, you know, loss aversion, inversion, what would happen if I didn't do this, all those types of things. But mainly I do, because I learn by doing. Making a mistake is really a very good thing because it makes me better. It makes me more effective. So by all means, like, watch this video on YouTube and then go out and do it. Like, go out and do stuff. Life is for living. Life is for engaging. You know, that's why I choose to be a creator and not a consumer, because I wanted to create things that are cool rather than sit there and consume stuff and go like, oh, I could do that better. Sure you could. You know, I literally have, you know, 10, 20, 30 just bullshit YouTube comments like, oh, this is rubbish, or oh, you didn't do this, or whatever. I'm like, fuck you. So I don't give a fuck what you think. Like, you're just consuming my content. My content is free. You don't like it, go somewhere else. Who are you? So go out there and do, and enjoy life, man. Enjoy it, because if you're a student, I am jealous of you. I'm jealous of all the magical, beautiful, wonderful things that life has in store for you. And life is for living and for doing. So I hope that you got something out of this. Drop me a comment down below if you liked it, didn't like it, what resonated with you, and good luck.